Hey, welcome back to So Strategic. Josh Delgado here. And this channel is all about helping you discover seeds to scale your business. Now, we're specifically looking at seeds to help you scale and grow to 7 figures, right? 91% of businesses, if you've been on this journey with us, 91% of businesses never reach $1 million in annual revenue. And so ultimately what we're going on is a journey to unpack 30 days worth of practical things that you could be doing, mindsets that you can take on to actually get your business on track to cross that 7-figure threshold. Okay, so today is all about one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites here, just a little sidebar. It's all about knowing where you're going, right? This is direction in your business, okay? We're going to talk about goals today. We're going to talk about how to know which direction is the right direction to go. And so ultimately, as we're going through, you have to know where you're going, or else you're going to be chasing every shiny thing that comes up. You're going to be always looking for the next greatest way to get you to wherever you're going faster, except there's one problem. You don't know where you're going, okay? And if you don't know where you're going, the likelihood of you actually ever reaching what you want is literally impossible because you don't know what you want. You haven't defined what you want. You haven't defined where you're going, where you're trying to actually end up. Okay. So the first thing you need to do when you're determining where you're trying to go is first look at the opportunity. Look at the opportunity that's in front of you and establish what are the paths that I can take, right? So you might have a product or you might have a service that has a specific market, size, right? We talk about market size, and market size usually determines the scalability of a business. So if a market is really small, there's not a lot of potential customers, the likelihood of that business being multiple 7 figures, even 7 figures sometimes, is very low if it's a very, very niche market that doesn't have a lot of market size, right? Now, the next thing you need to look at is, what does that market actually need? What are the problems within that market? So if you're running a business right now, let's say you're at a moderate level of success. You're doing $300,000 to $500,000 a year, right, annually in revenue. You might be a sole proprietor. You might be, you might have a partner in an LLC, something like that. Ultimately, you need to look at what you're actually trying to do, because often in this size business, right, when you're in that $300,000 to $500,000 range, one of the biggest issues can actually become, hey, we've got an opportunity, but we don't really know where we're trying to go with this opportunity. We know that we can find some people that are willing to pay us for our product or for our service, but we don't actually know how to take it further and actually build a true business beyond just selling a product or selling a service. And so I'll say this, building a business is different than just selling something, right? I know a lot of people who have been extremely great at selling things that they get into building a business, and it's a whole nother world, because it is, right? Building a business requires systems, processes, sales skills. So if you already have the sales skills, you have a big leg up, right? Because that's usually one of the harder skills for people to develop. But ultimately, you got to be able to transition that into now thinking like a business owner, right? Thinking like a CEO rather than just thinking like a successful salesperson. Okay. You see this a lot with people that are transitioning out of high paying corporate jobs, especially in coming out of tech, wanting to start other ventures and stuff like that. And so you got to figure out, though, as you're looking at the options available to you, which one has the most potential leverage to generate income. Okay, because often there's a lot of great opportunities, but which ones actually have sustainability in building a business? There's a big difference between that. Okay, and then when you find that, what you have to do is you have to reverse engineer, okay, what the opportunity, the problem that you're solving is. You have to reverse engineer that and build a product that actually solves that. And so for some of you listening to this today, you need to analyze the products and the services that you are currently offering, that you're currently selling. You need to look and analyze your market size, your market potential, right? Look at the true pain points. Get to know your customers a little bit more. This is an action item, right? Get to know your customers. Survey them, right? Run a survey. What are they loving about your product? What are the pains that they're experiencing in whatever it is that they do or are needing to solve? And really understand that. And then what you do is you back into it, you reverse engineer a process to actually deliver them what they need. And so for some of you, it's going to require you pivoting the things that you're doing to better serve what they actually need. And once you determine what they actually need, this is where the fun part begins, because now you get to actually build your business goals around and to supplement the actual goals of your potential customers, right? So you take your customers, what they actually are trying to achieve, you take their goals, their ambitions, the things that they are desiring in life, and you back your goals into figuring out how do I reverse engineer to get to that place. So I'm not talking about your personal goals, right? Like I'll talk about this, just a quick sidebar. Like my wife and I are trying to do something this year. This is something totally new for us. We're in the process of trying to get this off the ground, where as we are having a new level of success, we're having to up our goals, right? We're having to push our goals further. We're having to refine some things within our lives and within our family, within our approach to the way that we're doing things, just kind of across the board. And ultimately, like we've got now set like a weekly meeting that my wife and I are trying to have to make sure that we're staying on track and accountable to our goals. So part of that is we got to look at where do we want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now, and be able to back ourselves back into what do we need to be doing this year? What do we need to be doing, quarter by quarter? What do we need to be doing month by month and week by week and day by day, right? So we are able to look at the big picture and back ourselves back into what do we need to be doing now. So that's hard though. That's really hard to do. And we're not doing it perfect by any means. We're at the very, very beginning stages of doing it at this kind of level as a family, but ultimately it'll be worth it for us once we can get these things in place. And so, but when we're looking at specifically your business, we're not talking about like every single goal that you have in your life. Okay. So there's a big difference between a business objective and a business goal and your personal ambitions over the course of your life. Now, your business should play into your overall ambitions, but there's going to be a lot more with your overall ambitions. You're going to be looking at investments, diversifications, right? Looking at real estate, tax mitigation, all these other things to affect you personally. Whereas in your business, yes, you might be thinking about tax mitigation and things like that as well. But simultaneously, you're going to be looking at how do I achieve certain markers of success in my business. So those markers of success in your business are going to play into the markers of success in your life. But I just wanted to make sure that that was distinguishable here, so you're not thinking about your lifelong goals in the context of what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about your business objectives, okay? And so when you understand, going back to the point I was making, when you understand what your customers and your prospective customers want, what they desire, the outcomes that they want to attain, now you look at your business and you say, hey, I am trying to achieve this for my customer. I believe that the market size is X, Y, or Z. So because of that, I believe we can charge X, Y, or Z, because of the relative pain that the potential customer is experiencing. We can charge X, Y, or Z for our product or service. Okay, now because the market size is X, we can charge Y, and because of that, we need X amount of volume to get to this threshold. So if your goal is to get to $1 million over the course of a year, you have to do that math and back into what your sales targets need to be. So before we even talk about any kind of sales numbers or sales strategies or anything like that, marketing efforts, we need to actually realize, how do we back into what the goal should be? What's realistic? What's going to not set you up for failure? And so you have to look at the market size. Like I said, I'm going to just recap this one more time. You got to look at the market size. You got to look at the potential of you to insert yourself into that market. You have to understand the pain so that you can develop the product, right? Develop the product to actually solve the problem at hand for your prospective clients and customers. And ultimately, you reverse engineer based on what you can charge to solve that problem, how much sales volume you would actually need to reach the financial markers that you want. And now we're talking a lot about the financial side, because ultimately we're trying to, give advice on how to get a business to 7 figures. We're talking about the mindsets that you need to have to get your company to that $1 million threshold. But ultimately, it goes beyond just the financial side and the financial benefit to you, right? Yes, it's great. We want to have financial impact for our family. We want to be able to elevate our lives, right? But ultimately, we elevate our lives so that way we can be a better impact in our communities. And so ultimately, like, I want you as a business owner, someone who's trying to attain, 7-figure annual revenue, to be thinking about, hey, when I reach that threshold, how am I going to be contributing to my community? And so you're now building community impact goals at the same time that you're building milestone financial goals within your company. And ultimately, if you can do that, suddenly it elevates the why, it elevates the mission, it elevates why you're actually trying to attain the things that you're trying to attain. It's not just now, hey, can I get from making $50,000 a year to making $250,000 a year? Or can I get from $250,000 of profit, right, to $750,000 of profit. Okay. If you're making $750,000 of profit off of $1 million in sales, you have a great business model there. But ultimately, it's not just about that. It's about, hey, if I'm increasing the amount of income and revenue that I'm making in what I'm doing, how can I actually make sure that that's translating into some level of community impact for me? Now, ultimately, if I'm having greater community impact, then suddenly I'm having way more that I'm building my business for. It's not just about me. It's not just about money. It's not just about that next thing that I'm going to go purchase. It's about actually elevating what I'm doing to be able to grow and to scale my community, to help people that are actually in need, right? And that's ultimately, if you're a business owner and you're trying to actually grow and scale a business, how can you have bigger impact beyond just yourself? How can you have impact beyond just your finances? How can you have impact just beyond the thing that's right in front of you? Okay. And the people that have those elevated mindsets that think beyond just themselves and even beyond just their families, those are the people that can build and sustain businesses that are constantly and consistently reaching 7 figures in annual revenue and beyond, because ultimately their why is bigger. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to go down this road of the why. That's like one of the most overused and over talked about things in building a business. But ultimately, there's a reason for that, right? All of the motivational speakers from decades and decades ago, there's a reason that they talk about understanding your why, knowing why you're doing what you're doing. It's the thing that motivates you. You know, we talked about belief in yourself. We talked about belief in your products. Okay. But what is that belief, right? The belief is the why. It's the why. It's the thing that's actually carrying you on. That is what it is. Okay. So ultimately, you have to actually understand, as you're building out all these targets, there is a underlying, I say like an underlying current that keeps those things moving forward, and that keeps you now accountable to achieving the backed up goals that you've set for yourself, right? Whether financial, whether community, and even, you know, as we were talking about external personal goals, right? All of those things, the undercurrent of your why is what drives you to actually stick to solving those problems. So as we're wrapping this up today, I just want to encourage you, wherever you're at right now, okay, there is so much potential for you to accelerate what you're doing. Now, you have to start with that execution plan, which is the reverse engineering of the available market size to what you actually need to, you know, be able to be creating within your business to now go build that thing, right? To building it, which solidifies the belief in the product, which you've already got the belief in yourself. So suddenly you're building upon all these different components that are going to allow you to take those next steps toward building and scaling and sustaining a 7-figure business.